Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts. JL. When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for. Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or wherever, it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared.
Welcome, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, and that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only horror podcast where the scariest things are the hosts. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast host, you can join us here on YouTube for our live show so you too can get in on all the bloody fun. What are you waiting for? Join us. This week we're covering select horror films released October 9th through October 15th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Eugene, and with me tonight are Johnny O and JL.
You can say hello. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Johnny just stares at the camera. Like he's remaking fucking magic over there.
He's mining in a box right now, so for the people who can't see.
I thought you were doing the creepy fortune telling thing from Big.
Hey, don't give me nightmares like that, okay? It took years to get over that.
It's Zoltar. Okay?
Zoltar, that was it.
Yeah.
Zoltar.
I like the noises you're making.
Well, okay. So Zoltar was creepy, but it was even creepier when he finds him at the end of the movie, and it's disconnected. And he's like
disconnected at the beginning of the movie.
He kicks that bitch, and he's like, and it comes alive, and it's like, oh no.
But that's what happens at the beginning. Remember, he punches the thing.
Yeah. Well, so I want to know why. Why is that more frightening than, for example, like watching Friday the 13th when I was like 5, and I was like, I had fun in that movie. But no, creepy machine that grants wishes and makes you older. Fuck that.
Not only that, it also makes statutory rape okay.
Let's do we need to the 80s were a different time.
No, it's not the 80s.
Listen, they had different child labor laws at the time.
Sorry. Tom Hanks movies in the 80s were a different time.
That's true. It's also the fact that it was a woman banging a dude who was just 13 years old.
This is true.
Mrs. Robinson, anybody?
Mrs. Robinson, are you trying to seduce me? No, you stupid shit.
I had a woman once tell me that she couldn't hang out with me anymore because she didn't want to be Mrs. Robinson, and I was like, Right. We don't want that.
Yeah, that's so terrible. Yeah. Oh no.
Damn. Goodness. Anyway, so
I'm glad you caught that one.
All right, so we have a bunch of stuff to dive in tonight, and a couple of announcements to do. So before we do that,
we have announcements.
Well, we do. Well, we have one announcement, one thing we're going to talk about, and we have one thing to do before that. But anyway, I want to see who's in the live chat tonight with us. Let's see who we got tonight. Travis Brown is here. Good to see. Oh, I got to put this up. Boom! There's our Patreon banner. All the people who helped us to make this show the amazing experience it is every single week. So good to see you, Travis Brown. Thanks for being here. One of our amazing supporters. And Elizabeth Sylvester as well says, hey there, how are you, Week in Horror? We are doing good. I can tell you honestly, I screwed my back up yesterday. So I actually, I was so afraid because whenever I mess my back up and I'm forced to walk around, it tires my legs out because my legs are overcompensating for what my back can't do. So it always exhausts me. But Angela found some of these, I guess they had like these pads that you can stick on the back.
They're called Maxi.
They're doing but they seem to be doing the trick. I don't know what they're. I think they might be lidocaine pads.
Yeah,
but I tell you what, it's not bad. It's not bad. So I'm functional right now. So I don't know how I'll be
secretly high.
Hey, whatever works.
Whatever works. Whatever gets me to the end of the show. Let's see. I see Travis Brown, Elizabeth Sylvester. Good to see you. And I see Joshua Lee is here. Good to see you, Joshua Lee. Thanks so much for being here. Sarcasm as well. Good to see you, Sarcasm. Says hello, everybody. Good to see you, bud. And I see Wrote It No Last Name is here. Gabba Gabba 2 says Jefferson Spatchcock is live with some Darth Dawkins shenanigans, but I am here where the real horror is. Absolutely. And from what I understand, that eventually leads to the fallout between him and Otangelo again. So
again, this is the 15th time.
I know because he showed he had integrity and Darth just couldn't handle it. So well, just more YouTube dramas. Let me see. Genova28 is here. Says, good afternoon, ladies and germs. And Genova, I'm glad that your shirt finally arrived because Teespring is very wonky on the shipping stuff. So I'm glad that arrived and I'm glad that you enjoy it. Thank you for the picture sent to the horror chat. If anybody wants to submit pictures that they've ever had, pictures they have of the gear that they've gotten from Week in Horror, or the prize they've won, always throw them up in the Discord. You can find that link down in the description below, and we can just to see all the cool stuff that everybody has out there. And yes, Travis Brown, Shaq gave me those Icy Hot patches. He absolutely did. He did.
I'll see you let me give you this patch.
Let me see who else we got in tonight. See, that was me. Aaron Reese is hanging out in the chat. Good to see you, Aaron Reese. And said yes, he was. Yes. Joshua Lee said, "I'm curious. Does Week in Horror have a gaming channel?" And we do. It's run by our amazing follower, Alien X Gaming. It's called Digital Darkness. It's kind of faded a little bit. It's a little bit difficult to do gaming as far as timing, stuff like this, but we're trying to get that rolling. But it is still there. So you can pop over there. There is some videos up there, but we are going to try and get the ball rolling on that. Things have been really, really busy around Week in Horror, so it kind of is taking a back burner to many, many other things. But we will get there. We promise. All right. I gotta scroll. It jumped on me again. The stupid chat jumped on me again. I hate it when it does that. Donnie Does That is here. Good to see you, Donnie Does It. Says, hey, everybody. Good to see you, Donnie. Thanks for being here. Charlie Welch as well. Says, yo, the only person on the internet you never make a bet with. Good to see you, Charlie. Was it you? Tony Regime is here. Good to see you, Tony Regime. Thanks so much for hanging out. And, of course, thank you for the obligatory ghost. We do appreciate that. It is the spooky season. So we appreciate that.
He's not doing that because it's a spooky season.
Joshua Lee says Johnny O's in a glass case of emotion.
Assemble. Right here, Ron.
Sarcasm says, I gave up video games after the first time I rage blasted my 40-inch flat screen TV with a controller.
Whoops.
That's probably a smart choice.
Yeah.
The laces were in. They were in.
Travis Brown says Sean Connery with red underwear. Yes, that would Zardoz would be that. Zardoz.
Yeah.
And Aaron Reese says Zoltar had a pretty mouth. I'll let that sit as
silence.
It is.
Straight silence.
Just straight silence. Jinju is here. Good to see you. Jinju says hello, everyone. We modified the Howard Hand Up Me puppet to look like Johnny O. Oh.
Whoa. Speaking of which, we should show the pictures that I when we get the Puppet Master, I have a surprise for everybody because I found Pinhead. I found the real life version.
Oh, Pinhead in real life?
Yes.
Real life Pinhead.
Yes.
All right, let's see who else we got here. Oh, wrote in the last name says bosom buddies. I rest my case. Thank you, wrote in the last name. Appreciate that. Angel Rivera's here. Good to see you. Says, what up, Week in Horror? Where were you able to get the video I PM'd you? I didn't see it. So may try send that to me again or email it to me. You have my email address. So it'll be good to see you, Angel Rivera. And I think I caught everyone. And I'm all caught up, yes. All right, so. Oh, Tony Regime says, try a TENS machine for back pain.
I need to do
TENS.
that.
I don't know what a TENS
It's
machine
a
is.
little thing. You've got the leads on it. It makes your muscles.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Yes, Rodinello Sam, you are correct. Aaron, Race, and JL Warren are like old, creepy houses, broken and creaking in odd places. I absolutely am. I don't know about. I don't know. Aaron's pretty. Aaron's not as. I don't think Aaron's as old as I am.
No.
Is Aaron older than me?
No.
Okay. I know I'm pretty broken down. So just.
I don't want to make this into a competition about who's the most broken down, but I think you and I are. I think I've got you by quite a bit. Let's be honest.
You have me quite a bit because you did stuff in your music career on stage that I would never do. Although I'm sitting there like when I was in my teens, getting thrashed around on a mat.
That's true.
And slammed around like on my freaking head and back like nobody's business.
Then,
but you were up there being like fifth stage dive.
Yeah.
That rock star.
Eugene was getting shot at for a living for a while.
Yeah, Eugene was getting. Eugene was like
60 bullet holes. I don't fucking care.
So Johnny's like got the music career. I've got
bullet hole.
Johnny's got the music background, like the rock star background. I've got the athlete background, and Eugene's just like like combat. So. Yeah, I was just defending your freedoms.
Yeah. Let me tell you how the military ages you.
He's actually 17 years old.
17 years old. He's been divorced twice. Has 5 kids.
Oh man, I was about to make a comment about how 3 of them were from while he was overseas. But I'm not going to say it.
You just did. Oh, man. We got movies to talk about, but before we do movies, we got some other things to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Thank you, Johnny, for keeping us on track. So, first and foremost, we have the Bloodbath debate coin toss tonight. So I have the coin ready to go.
Tails never fails. Tails never fails.
Why are you jumping in there now?
Do it.
Last time we went heads. Little bit of setup there, Chief.
I know, but last time we went heads, it was
all right. So we just had Bloodbath debate number 34. It went live for our patrons. All of y'all should have heard that one. That was a really, really good fight. That was between Johnny O and Alex, and Johnny O unseated, or no, it was Johnny O unseated Alex.
No,
that was your second in a row. Second in a row.
Yep.
So Johnny O maintained the champion position by defeating Alex in debate. And so Johnny O moves on to his next one where he takes on Aaron?
I believe it is Aaron. It's either Aaron or you.
I believe it's Aaron.
Yeah, I think it's Aaron.
Aaron, let us know. Aaron says, I have 2 genetic disorders. You guys just like Twinkies too much, bastards.
Aaron's like, I was born old.
Aaron,
I'm Benjamin buttoning this shit, motherfucker.
Aaron, I am not a Twinkie fan. I am a Ding Dong fan. I really am.
Wow. Angela, if you could snip that out for creative reasons.
No, we'll put that in the next trailer. I am not a Twinkie fan. I am a Ding Dong fan.
There's a second reading, Angela, in case the first one was muddled.
Yes.
The first one was bad.
All right, so I do. Yes, it is Aaron. It's going to be Johnny O versus Aaron, and the combatants will be in this next Bloodbath debate. This is Bloodbath debate number 35. The combatants will be Johnny O and Aaron Reese, and they will be representing American Psycho versus Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Oh, it's going to be a tough one.
So Patrick Bateman versus Henry. I'm very curious how this one's going to play out. So Denova28 says, "What kind of ding dongs, JL?" Hang on. The chocolate kind.
What's up?
Don't make me laugh, man. My fucking back is killing me.
Welcome to my world.
Oh, shit. Don't. My fucking, shit. Anyway, so.
My neck is on fire right now
because Johnny is the reigning champion, here is the coin. This coin toss will decide who gets to represent who. So Johnny O will call it in the air, and if he wins, he gets to choose which one he wants. And then Aaron will have to pick up the other one. If he loses, then Aaron's got first choice. So,
Aaron, who do you want?
This is for the dibs.
You tell me who you want, Aaron. Tell me who you want.
No, so here's tails is the Texas Frightmare Weekend, and here's heads, which is the state of Texas, the Texas Frightmare logo. So here we go. Ready? Call it in the air.
We all say tails never fails, baby.
Tails.
Yeah, of course. It's heads.
And it's tails.
Yeah, bye.
Tails.
That's the only thing I'm
Except when
winning.
it does.
All right, so who are you taking? Who are you taking for Bloodbath 35?
So fucking hard. This is very.
This is a hard one.
This is literally going to go either or.
They're both fucking crazy.
I will take. I'll go out on a limb and take the long shot. Take Patrick Bateman.
Oh, you're taking American Psycho. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny O.
Error, but.
All right, Johnny O.
I already picture Henry having a couple advantages on this one. So
yeah,
this is literally Christian Bale versus Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so you heard it here. Johnny O is taking American Psycho. Aaron will have Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer for the next Bloodbath debate, Bloodbath number 35. That will be towards the end of the month, and we will send out those links when the time comes. But I'm looking forward to it. I think this one's going to be settled on the arguments themselves. I think it really will. Both of y'all better bring it. Good to see you, Triggered Limey's in the house. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here, bud. Appreciate that. And let me see here. Oh, holy shit. And the George said is here. It says, let's go, boys. Been too long. Been catching up with the VODs, but always love the live chat. Good to see you, George. Thanks so much for hanging out, bud. I'm glad everything is going well for you. Appreciate that. Batman versus Yondu. This is true.
Yep.
Hard ones, chocolate ding dongs, and demonetized.
Got twinks.
Okay, another thing.
Yeah, this is a fun part.
This is a fun thing.
Yeah, this was really fun. I'm looking forward to this one here because I think we're
Oh,
going to get
yes.
some really cool things.
One thing that I think that every single person in this live chat, every single member here at Week in Horror, we all have in common is we absolutely fucking love Halloween.
Yep.
And one of the best things about Halloween is carving pumpkins, carving jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween. And of course, we can always get creative and do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So, for the first time in 2022, Week in Horror is having a pumpkin carving contest on Discord. Okay?
Yeah,
I have already created the channel. If you look in the community tab in the Week in Horror Discord, the link is down in the description. And as a matter of fact, just for sake of it, I'm going to go ahead and click that and copy that and bam, put that in there. Oh, whoops. No. Okay, it's good to go. All right, so there's the link for the Discord. You'll see there is a 2022 pumpkin carving contest tab in the community section. It's at the very, very top, right by Horror Chat. That section right there is for everybody to submit their carved pumpkins. Submit your pumpkins, no matter where you are in the world, wherever you listen to us. Submit your pumpkin pictures, and then on the 26th, on episode 6 of season 4, on the 26th of October, we will announce the top 3 winners. And we're gonna continue to remind people every single episode until the 26th. But the decision will be made October 26th. The top 3 pumpkins of all the ones submitted will win something from the Week in Horror Vault. So, or from the store in itself. It could be something old, could be some of the old limited edition stuff. It could be something new. We don't know yet. But the top 3 competitors, first place, second place, third place, are just the top 3 that we like. The top 3 will be selected, and then you 3 will win something from the Week in Horror store. So, right there in the Discord, hit the link if you haven't joined it. Jump in there and submit your pumpkin carvings as soon as you can. Get those in quick.
I'm looking forward to that. And Sir
Yes, absolutely. Same here.
Oh, yeah.
Halloween is the greatest. You get to pretend to be whatever you want and take candy from strangers. This is
Hell yes.
100% true.
Yeah.
Do we have to? Do we have to?
Aaron Reese says, Judge says I can't carve pumpkins anymore. Something about unlawful sexual congress with produce.
I have to be within 300 yards away from fruit at all times.
Triggered Limey says, I'm just going to ask Salwayne to sit on my step. Can't be bothered to carve a pumpkin. That's okay. It's all good. We're glad that you're here. But if you do happen to carve one, then you'd be more than happy, more than welcome to submit it to the contest.
Yep.
So we can't wait to stop. Oh, and he says, oh, that reminds me, I need to go shopping for razor blades.
Oh, buddy.
Jeez. Ooh, buddy.
I don't know how that happened, how that came about, because it's never happened.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
And nobody's putting drugs in candy. Drugs are expensive. Drugs are expensive. No one's wasting them by just by handing it to them.
Nobody's going to accidentally give you the fucking pot candy.
No. And Denova28 says, everybody go to JL's house. He has full-size candy bars. Who told you I give away full-size?
You did.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I gave it away.
Notice how that wasn't a no. See?
Yeah, not at all.
No, I do give away full-size because I like to make it worth it because every year I do everything I can to scare the living shit out of trick-or-treaters. I send them screaming into the street. And, if I scare
candy bars.
If I scare the hell out of them, if they make it, then I gotta reward them for it. And if the reward for it is like a full-size Kit Kat or a full-size Snickers bar or a Milky Way or a Three Musketeers, Jail, and the George says, what if I smash a pumpkin and call it Jail's Taste in Movies?
That's mean.
It's kind of mean. Oh, Triggered Limey says, in that case, I'm flying to jails.
Never mind buying full-size candy bars at a fraction of the price.
Travis Brown says, do not forget to talk about the ho-hos and the ding-dongs in tonight's films. We will not, promise it.
There will be a lot of ho-hos and ding-dongs.
Tony Regime says, if I carve a pumpkin before the 26th, it will be a rotten mess by the 31st. Well, there are actually techniques you can use to keep it from rotting. Yeah. And you can find those online. But if you do happen to carve it before the 26th, you can do that. And as a matter of fact, if you just get a pumpkin and you carve it, you could carve it up and just submit the picture, and you could carve ones later that you could put out for display. So it's plenty of time in between the two. But I want to make sure that we get those prizes out before Halloween was the whole point, is I want to get it done before Halloween.
Just in case anybody's recording. Sorry. I'm playing.
And I see, let's see. Joshua Lee, that's not the only thing that's full-size of jails. I see Jason Hyatt is here. Good to see you, Jason Hyatt. Thanks for hanging out. Says smart, hungry parents came up with that. No doubt. And I also saw Claire View is here. Good to see you, Claire. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. And I see Cindy Johnson, too. Another one of our supporters says, good evening. Good to see you, Cindy.
Good evening.
And yes, this last thing is important because we're going to get into it. So
important. We don't have
everybody knows. So before we dive into the movies tonight, everybody, okay, this Friday and next Friday are important because this Friday, because right now it is the 5th. We're recording this on the 5th. This will go live to the podcast deals on the 9th. But in between that time, Hellraiser, the new Hellraiser will be up on Hulu. So we're all super looking forward to that. Okay, we're all super looking forward to that. But I, for one, am looking forward to the 14th when Halloween Ends drops. I'm excited to see it.
I'm glad you're excited to see the end of that piece of shit trilogy.
Eugene.
No.
Okay.
Johnny, on this one, it is a piece of shit.
Okay. I liked the 2018 one. I did really liked it. I thought it was shot well. I've stated it many times on this podcast. And it was like hey, let's do a one shot of cool. It was really good. All right, we'll give you a 2-movie deal so you can make a second and third one. And the second one was trash. And the third one, at best, maybe they learn from mistakes, but I doubt it. On it, I don't. What are you gonna do? You're not gonna kill off Jamie Lee Curtis. You're just not. And then Michael, because he's supernatural at this point. He fought like 15 times all over the body and still don't die. You're not gonna die. You're just not. Right. So like,
The pitchfork
where's
hit
he
was
gonna
pretty
go?
hardcore.
Yeah,
All of it.
Where are you gonna go with it?
He's a 70-year-old motherfucker who was shot, stabbed, everything that they did to the fucking bad guy in Ghostbusters 2. And this motherfucker still gets up, murders a mob of people, doesn't go to the hospital, and you want to argue with me about they fucking did not set up the supernatural nature of no, they didn't, and they made him supernatural. Like, yes, no, they didn't. For fuck's sake, I hate the fucking movie. I think it's stupid. Everything about the second one was stupid. The first one, yes, first one was fun to watch, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. You know, Danny McBride, you're doing a good job here. And then the second one came out, and I said, this is the most retarded fucking movie I have seen. None of it makes sense, and I know I'm not supposed to use that word because it's not PC, but that's one of the ones that's hard for me to get rid of. But the whole fucking movie was stupid. You can't get motherfuckers to rally to do shit, and all of a sudden 50, 60, 130, 200 fucking people who have no clue who the fuck Michael Myers is outside of the storytelling that happened 40 years in the past. Like, yeah, let's go kill him. I'm gonna kill him because I hate the guy. Evil dies tonight. Fuck your mother.
He's really upset.
It was so stupid. It was.
This is after you were talking about Vigo the Carpathian, right? Like,
yes,
how he was poisoned, shot, stabbed, hung, stretched, disemboweled, drawn, and quartered.
Right.
Ouch. And get this, just before his head died.
That made more sense than Halloween Kills or where the fuck it's called. It should be called Halloween Kills, this franchise.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. And yes, we will be showing that because it's streaming on Peacock on the 14th. So we're going to be taking a look at that over here at Week in Horror. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, we're looking forward to Hellraiser on the 7th. Are you looking forward to that one at least?
Absolutely. Everybody knows that Hellraiser is my favorite series of all time.
And there have been some early reviews. Reviews have been, it's absolutely fucking amazing.
Extremely positive, yeah.
Doug Bradley came out and was like, holy shit. Like what they did with what they did with Jamie Clayton's makeup and the whole do up as Pinhead. Not only is it scary, it's functional.
Yeah.
So like her, like everything, like, and I don't know and I'm not sure what that means. But apparently there's function to what she is. And it's like, so it's going to be fucking gross.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yes, Angel Rivera, I did see your message. Hello. I did see your message there. So I'll get back to you here shortly.
But it's time to get to the meat of the podcast.
Sweet. We got meat.
Yeah, we got meat.
We got meat. we got good stuff.
Angela, if you want to snip that out, also just store those somewhere.
We need a JL soundboard.
No, you don't need a JL soundboard. Absolutely not.
Yes, we do, Angela.
I miss Jessica G. She was awesome. Mm-hmm. But anyways, Johnny, what do we got first?
All right, first up, we have the 1980-81 film, The Watcher in the Woods. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Oh, fuck, that's copywritten. Shit. Roll that not beautiful bean footage.
Something happened in these woods. Something that has never been explained. And it's happening again. Now.
Did you hurt yourself?
Oh, it's just a little cut.
What sort of person are you? Sensitive? You sense things?
The past pursues the present like a recurring dream. What began as a game ended when a young girl vanished into thin air.
Rad Rom.
Shockingly good penmanship for her age.
Yeah.
That was my daughter's name.
What do you think happened to Karen?
I think she's still out there.
Karen is trying to come back.
What did you see? Not Karen outside there. Don't you understand? It's someone else.
Only Jan can help Karen. But who's going to help Jan? Betty Davis, Carol Baker, David McCallum, and Lynn Holly Johnson.
Whatever happened to my Karen could happen to you.
The Watcher in the Woods.
Well, so much for me telling you who's in the film. Thank you, announcer. All right, so we have The Watch in the Woods, which is a 1980-1981 American supernatural horror film released by Disney, of all people, actually under the moniker of Disney. Starring, as this guy said, Bette Davis, Carol Baker, David McCallum, Lynn Holly Johnson, and Kyle Richards. Basically, what happened here, you have a family who, I can't remember if they're on vacation or whatever, but they're off into the woods looking for a secluded house. They come across this house that is ridiculously low priced. So they decide to stay there, and the ghost of Bette Davis's daughter starts haunting the family because they want to achieve. The ghost wants to, not be a ghost anymore. I wish I could say shit gets real, but it doesn't because it's a Disney horror film, so shit doesn't really get real. It just gets funny.
Well, and you say like ridiculously low price. It's white people in a horror film low.
Yeah, right.
This is what it is. It's like real estate opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So this was intriguing. So I have to say, I wanted to choose this one. I chose this one for us to talk about because last week we had some really hardcore shit on the last episode because we talked about Thanatomorphos and the house that Jack built, and we talked about some really dark stuff. And this was a rare opportunity to talk about Disney and some of the horror films, because Disney has a very odd history when it comes to horror. Now, in the 80s, Disney released a series of live action films in order to cater to kind of its young adult audience and just try to gather the brand. They had the Mickey Mouse show, they had obviously the animated films, and they were really trying to do a push in the 80s to get young adults, and I guess to try and branch out, and it worked modicum. It gave us some good ones like Flight of the Navigator and some other. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Great
and
film.
so this happened to be one of the ones that came out. It came out in 1980. It was the year that I was born, and starring Betty Davis. But I really dug this because films like this, especially from Disney, really played into, it was very much for a lot of us, although I think we were kind of unique because our parents may have like my intro to horror was fucking Alien. And The Thing.
Mine, believe it or not, if you can call Ghostbusters horror, I think it's horror comedy or comedy horror, but that was my intro. And then shortly after Ghostbusters was Joey Making Contact, which we're finally fucking talking about in this damn podcast. after 3 years, and we think, gotta watch this movie. And then after that was Alien. Yeah.
And well, actually, I should say, like my first, like the first one, I would say the first two films that you can classify them as horror comedy or like this was Ghostbusters and then Gremlins. But as far as legit horror, I would say that my first real entrance into recognizing what was horror was, I believe it was Alien, and it was showed by my uncle, and then of course I think The Thing was shortly after that, which solidified me as a John Carpenter fan. But it was movies like this, Disney attempting to cater to or to tell stories that cater to young adult audiences that were kind of trending at the time as like of the spooky and the macabre. This kind of was a lot of people's, and I imagine a lot of people in the intro or in the live chat here, a lot of people's like kind of a childhood entry into the macabre and mystery and horror and such, and this couples along with things like Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark and Freaky Links and stuff like that, where it was basically trying to bring these scary type stories to a younger audience. And no, it served as an intro. And I for one, if I had watched this when I was like 2 or 3 years old, I probably wouldn't have grasped it. But by the time I was old enough to grasp it, this was kind of a creepy film, well shot, well executed, very creepy atmosphere, especially because it has that beautiful 80s kind of realistic kind of grain, that realistic grain to it, where it's not oversaturated in the color. It looks very, very real. And I think this would have been haunting for a lot of kids. Scarier than I think for younger audiences.
Yeah, it's just something, looking back on some of the old kind of Disney stuff and some of the horror films that they actually kind of branch out to, this being one of them. A couple others or things. I know some of my first foray into horror was Poltergeist and Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah.
I love Beetlejuice. Yep. Winona Ryder was one of my first celebrity crushes from that movie. But the thing is, I pretty enjoyed this movie for what it was, because this isn't something that it was like hey, this has to be super grotesque, it has to be super gory, it has to be real shocking and like that. This can kind of make horror fun for kids, because I love Alien. That was also one of my first movies I ever watched. But Alien's not a fun movie to watch when you're like 6.
Yeah, I remember going to the Fort Worth Museum of Natural Science and History, and they had the aliens. They had the loader and the fight between the loader and the Queen Alien. That was part of it, because they had this whole. That was really cool. That was my really big eyes opening awakening into the horror genre, was that there was an exhibit that was traveling and stopped up at the Fort Worth Museum, and they talked about American Werewolf in London, it talked about the Mummy, it had aliens, all kinds of shit. I was like, this is really fucking cool. That they would show the transformation into the wolf. That scene was on loop. I was like, that's fucking cool. But when you walked in, it was the this huge display of that fight between the Queen Alien and the loader, and my brother and I were fascinated with that. We weren't afraid of that at all. We weren't scared of that shit at all. And then he went and rented Alien, and we watched that shit. Like, this is not the fucking thing I saw at the museum. This scared the shit out of me. I was like 7 or 8. I was like, what the fuck are we looking at? This is not cool.
Hey, Damian Paxton, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
But
the difference between those two, the difference between Aliens and Alien was, it's night and day, but beautifully, yeah. And I'll say the sequence when the scene when Bishop gets impaled, and when the tail comes out, that was pretty freaky. But then the whole fight, is like she comes out there and the loader is like,
it was exciting. It wasn't.
That was holy shit. Yeah. She's mixing it up with this thing, and it's like fuck. And so, and of course, the tension there when they go into the airlock, she blows the airlock, and for some reason the whole ship doesn't decompress. But nonetheless, but then she grabs it, and then the epic music, the dun 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 dun. It was like shit was amazing. Right. But then you go back and watch Alien, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Because honestly, I believe most people Alien. I know with me, I saw Aliens before I saw Alien.
Right.
On it, because Aliens was it's a horror, but it's a horror action movie, and it fun, and it had space marines, and obviously Ellen Ripley says her most iconic epic line ever right before she's in the loader, and you just cheer. I've seen the movie 100 times and I still cheer every time. She's like, get away from her, you bitch, and you're on it.
And then Eugene enlisted, and when he got there, he was like, fucking false advertising. What the? It's like,
this wasn't in Aliens.
well, more to your point, like this film here, The Watch in the Woods, was good. It's really good movie. Like, if you have kids and you want to introduce them to horror, this is a great one to do it, because it's not overly, there's no sex, there's no nudity, there's no blood and guts. It's just a good slow burn style horror film with some kind of weird effects, and the jump scares work on kids, but it's not something that's going to make them have generally not going to make them have nightmares. And you know what? I got to go back and correct. My first foray, probably early foray, was the fucking Wizard of Oz. That Wicked Witch of the West was creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oz is a freaky place.
Yeah.
Well, and so what was cool in this one is like because they were adapting books at the time, and so this was a part of that. Like because I know there were adaptations done of like the red where the red fern grows, and then of course Old Yeller and a number of other.
But that's all that Disney's done. Disney is just adaptations of books, but
and so Watcher in the Woods was adapted from Florence Engel Randall's '76 novel Watcher in the Woods, and. It was Disney was thinking that it could be their Exorcist. Like, like if we were going to do Exorcist, the Disney style is like, this is what it could potentially be. And unfortunately, it really didn't play out that way because the young adult movement really just didn't catch on because you can do it in a certain way, but if you're not willing to really cross the threshold, so this was kind of like they're trying to do it, but they didn't go far enough, they didn't go hard enough. Because you got to be able to, draw these things into real life. So, because there's no language in this, there's no real violence in this. It's all just tension and atmosphere and creepiness and music and a couple of tiny little jump scares. Mostly the sound of breaking glass, which I can understand for little kids would be like, because breaking mirrors or shit like that was kids would be naturally afraid of that. But otherwise, they did an extremely good job of this. It was shot entirely on location out there in Pinewood, which is over in England, and which makes for a fantastically creepy locale. It's deeply wooded. It's a fantastic manor estate that's been around for a minute, and I love the fact that they got Betty Davis in there. And if I remember correctly, reading about this, it was what's this? Damian Paxton says, "When Skeletor popped out of the water, spooked me when I first saw it." So it was John Huff who was in this, and he said in interviews, is like playing across from Betty Davis. And I imagine that would be intense, playing across from such a legend. She was 76 years old at the time, and she comes in. Yeah, you think so? Yeah. And so she comes in and she's doing her thing, and John Huff was like, you couldn't play a scene with Betty Davis and not really be on your toes and really be thinking all the time. Otherwise, you just wouldn't get. She would just dominate everything that she did. She was just like, bam, it's all Betty Davis. If you wanted to have any kind of effect, you had to really bring your A game. So, because Betty Davis brought a lot to it, I thought she did extraordinarily well. She did a classic thing, creepy Betty Davis eyes and doing her whole thing. And I think she was 72 at the time. And just, I thought it was a wonderful little wonderful little entry. Now, here's the real question: is because oh, gross, Aaron. I'm not saying that. Come on.
Wow.
Because you can't masturbate with a cross and get a PG rating.
I'm not going to say that.
I thought about it, then I realized I could say it. Yeah. So, but here's the kicker. And this is what I'm wondering about. I wanted to throw it because this movie is free to watch on YouTube. But there is an alternate ending to this movie.
There is.
Which it's an alternate 6-minute ending, okay? And I could see kind of why they changed it, but they probably shouldn't have.
They changed it because when you look at it, like story-wise, there's no real difference. You know what I mean? There's no real difference story-wise. You can go either or. It ends the same, right? Mm-hmm. But it's how it gets there that's a little bit different, and I understand why they would have changed it and went with the ending they went to. The fact that kids are their target audience.
Right.
But this monster thing at the end wasn't... I mean, me looking at it as 40-plus-year-old, it's like not scary and shit, but I can imagine, kids and under
a 5 and 6 year old seeing that thing. Okay, so
be cool with it.
Did you happen to catch the alternate ending, Eugene?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch the alternate ending.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Spoiler
okay, so we spoiler on this. So there is an alternate ending. It's an alternate 6-minute ending, and the actress who plays the daughter who disappeared, the actress who plays Karen, is different. So they shot a completely new ending for the final cut. The ending they shot and the one that they released theatrically has the entity, the Watcher in the woods, so to speak. The entity essentially was a possessing entity, and it was an interdimensional thing. They were playing a game, and Karen wound up switching places with an interdimensional entity. So it was because it was on the eclipse. It was basically kind of a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. So they happened to be playing the game, and the Watcher swapped with Karen. Karen went to the Watcher's dimension. The Watcher got stuck here, and the Watcher was trying to make its way back so that Karen could come back and switch places again. And so in the released one, it was a possessing entity, and at the end, it eventually ends up possessing the little girl, and then that's how they find out the exposition that they need. It's like, we understand what's going on. In the alternate one, the fucking thing actually shows up.
Right.
Oh.
And is like, I mean, okay, the design of this fucking thing, which shockingly, I think was a bit kind of Species 2, in that it was enormous, it had wings, and it was all skeletal and shit, and its head was like, oh, fuck, it was...
It was,
okay.
Yeah, it was
for
a little kid, that's probably, a little bit too much.
And then it, like, swoops in, and it grabs Jan, and, like, it looks like it flies away with her and stuff, and I was like, okay... I can kind of see why they changed this, because this is a little hardcore for like maybe a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old who's watching this movie, or even a young adult. I think it was like, this is pretty intense, and even for a Walt Disney, it was Black Cauldron intense, because there's a reason why Disney kind of shies away from Black Cauldron nowadays. And so, but I think they honestly could have gone with this one, but I thought it was interesting. In that respect, Denovis is it kind of like Bird Box where you never see the creature. In the theatrical version, you never saw it. In the theatrical one, it was a possessing entity, and so it was basically just like moving around invisibly, and then it could speak through people. But in the alternate version, they actually manifested the damn thing, and it showed up, and it was like this huge winged skeletal, creature. Whose head was kind of like split and giant jaw. It was really freaky looking.
Yeah, it was not something that. I mean, it'd give your young children, young kids, it'd probably give them nightmares, unless they're just insane like me. But,
right. That's you, bud.
I just want to see how long we're going to go with that awkward silence.
Another thing we're going to clip out.
Yeah. Big chunk of silence. Oh, sorry, Angela. Fucking Johnny. Stupid bastard. Anyway, seeing as how
Johnny always fucking it up for everybody.
No, it's JL's always fucking it up for everybody. Okay?
I'm not taking the bait.
Oh, yes, you are. Anyway, seeing as how we're talking about the two alternate endings, just one alternate ending, the two endings. Golly. I love you, Angela. Anyway, that's my question for the audience. I want to know, which ending do you like more? Do you like the original theatrical release, or do you prefer the alternate ending? Let me know in the comments down below, in the side chat, or in weekinhorror@gmail.com, and tell me why. I'm curious. Why do you prefer which ending? So,
Aaron Reese is getting a lot of hate in the live chat for it. He says, "I'm feeling very judged. You mentioned pumpkin fucking one time, and you're suddenly an outcast." and then Charlie Welch says, "Humpkin Reese." And then what was it? And then Denova says, when was pumpkin fucking mentioned? Travis Brown says, it's the great humpkin, Aaron Reese.
That's funny.
All right.
JL, your time to shine or something.
Yes. I told you I was going to. I told you I'd take the hit on this one. I told you I would.
You should. All the hits you've been giving out the past 3 fucking years.
The one time the skills are balanced.
For our next film. Released October 10th, 2008. We have the movie Quarantine. Let's check out this trailer.
Quarantine. So bad.
Ready?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Angela Vidal. We're in Los Angeles, traveling along with the fire department. Is that so bad?
These are the men you'll be shadowing tonight. Wherever they go, you go too.
Police are here. It might be a little more serious than we thought.
A woman was screaming bloody murder back there.
Fire department's about to begin the rescue process. Police say that she lives alone. She's not very social.
Okay. We're gonna get you some medical help, okay?
Yeah, buddy, come on.
Tape everything, you hear me? Tape everything!
Sit down. We have an officer down. I need an ambulance immediately.
Do not try to leave the building. This will all be over shortly.
Why are they isolating?
I don't know more than you do right now, okay?
We were told that tenants inside need medical aid. Chief!
Everyone's been evacuated. Everyone's completely safe.
Why would he say that?
I can't get through to my husband and my daughter has a fever.
We gotta get out of here.
We're filming this! People are gonna see what you're doing, guys!
We go out!
They're not gonna let us out of here alive, are they?
No matter what happens, just keep moving.
My daughter has a fever.
I think I know what this is.
We need a doctor. Whose apartment is this? Oh my god.
You have no idea how bad this thing is. The man who lives here.
Let me get out of here! Go back!
I'm fixing it, come on!
All right, Quarantine, directed by John Eric Dowdle, screenplay by John Eric Dowdle and Drew Dowdle, based on Wreck, which many people in the live chat have pointed out, and of course starring Jennifer Carpenter, Jay Hernandez, Columbus Short, Greg German, Steve Harris, Dania Ramirez, Rade Cervedegia, and Jonathan Schock. So the just like similar to Wreck, similar to its Spanish counterpart Wreck, the film follows a late-night news crew as they are on the night shift with the Los Angeles Fire Department, and they are following them, and of course get a call to an apartment building where a woman was screaming, and of course as they bust in to try and take care of the situation, as Eugene would say,
it gets real.
Shit absolutely gets fucking real. But
yeah,
did it though? Did it get real? It was shit for sure. I agree with you there. It was shit.
This is the one thing though. I will give them this is that right. Did they hit? Is Wreck better? Absolutely, Wreck is a much better film.
Yeah.
But at least it had some cool moments and they tried. One of the biggest things was it's the oneer, from the fire department all the way to the apartment, which is an insane shot where the camera's getting onto the fire department on the fire truck, and it's actually going through the streets. It gets to the apartment. All that was all done in one take, which is incredible. This movie has some incredible stunts, like when the woman falls and bounces off the banister and hits the ground. That was a stunt person. That wasn't CGI or dummy. I will give them the fact that they tried. It was just. If the movie was any better, it would be Wreck, and we already have Wreck.
We already have Wreck. So the thing you're getting at is that they were polishing a turd. There's a lot of good things that happened in this movie, but the problem is when you start with something that is just inherently bad because it is a bad carbon copy of another film, I don't care what you do with it. It's just not going to be a good movie. And the performances weren't terrible. The acting wasn't terrible. The stunts were great. Some of the camera movements were cool, even though it's found footage, and I'm not a huge fan of found footage. But it's just the fact that it was a really bad carbon copy of Wreck, which, again, like we've already had. We've seen that it was a good film. And instead of trying to do something different, let Wreck be Wreck and do something different, we're just going to take it and then fuck it up.
Well, okay, so American remakes of foreign films, obviously we're no stranger to those, but they can be done correctly as long as, in my opinion, as long as they try to make them their own. So the best examples I can think of is like it's like the adaptation of The Ring. It's like the American version of The Ring, the American version of The Grudge. These are the ways you can do it. You could do it solidly. Problematic is when you try to change things up. Very similar when you don't try to make it your own, or you miss the point, or you mistranslate. It's like, for example, the newest adaptation of the Danish horror film Goodnight Mommy. I'm pretty sure that was a Danish film. But the American version of that with Naomi Watts, whereas Naomi Watts was excellent because it's Naomi Watts. The problem with that was that they changed the certain circumstances in the film, particularly the circumstances around the little boy's death, and that completely changes the tone of the entire film in and of itself, which is problematic because then you get a fundamentally different idea behind why the mother's going through what she's going through from the original Danish film. So
Right.
there are certain things you can change and certain things that you should never touch.
If
and
you
so
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was saying, so it's that foundational thing. Like, for example, in The Ring and in The Grudge, they did not touch the foundation of those films. So you have the same circumstances, the same foundation. We just allowed our characters to be different and to interact differently with what was happening. And that worked. But unfortunately, in this one, the foundation of what makes Wreck is ostensibly the difference between the Spanish culture and the American culture. We look at things completely differently. We value different things. And so when we look at this in this respect, that's why more effort was put to try to emphasize the government's malfeasance in this, and the whole fact that, like they said, everybody's out, everybody's good, they're closing off the building, everybody's trapped inside. Anti-government, or the government is bad, or the government's nefarious in respect, is a big American thing, but that's not what makes Wreck important. And it's not what makes Wreck good. What makes Wreck good is the drama going on inside and the strength of our protagonists. I believe the original newscaster, I believe her name was Angela in the original Wreck. She was a strong character throughout the entire thing. She's scared, but she never really, because she's a news reporter. She's used to being in the shit. The other people, the first responders that are there, they never lose their shit. Nobody freaks out and does this bullshit where they're kind of like always looking for someone else to blame. Let's ramp up the paranoia. These are not things that really, these are things that for American audiences. When you lose those foundations, the foundation was in extreme moments, people can rise to be their best. In these and in this extreme situation where people are trapped in a building with a bunch of fucking zombies and shit, the whole point is coming together and getting out, and the fight for survival and how we can help each other. That is ostensibly not what happened in Quarantine, and everybody is literally on the edges of falling apart at any given moment, which is just fabricated drama.
Well, see, when you talk about one of the differences with Wreck and Quarantine is Wreck, the main character, I think her name was Angela, right? The broadcaster woman?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
She's a real-life broadcaster woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They cast
reporter. Yeah.
the emergency responders were real life. They went for people who actually had the jobs, and like these are real firefighters. And then the director of Wreck was like, "Okay, you're a firefighter. How would you respond in this situation?"
Mm-hmm.
And they go, "Oh, well, I would do this and this and this." That's why Wreck feels authentic, because firefighters are trained. This. Emergency responders are trained to do this. The training would kick in, and then obviously it escalates to what happens in the building, but it feels real and authentic, and that's why you're able to really connect with these characters. Whereas with Quarantine, they're all actors, and I mean, actors they do their job, but it's more like we need to show the paranoia, we need to show this crazy and everybody flailing their arms and stuff, and it loses it.
Yeah, exactly right. Part of the issue, the two biggest issues are the authenticity just wasn't there with Quarantine because of that reason. Because nobody was believable. Like, do you really think that a news reporter has to turn around to a camera person and say, make sure you record everything?
No.
It doesn't happen.
That's literally, you have to turn around and tell them to stop recording. Like, otherwise, everything is going on camera.
Right. That's just so stupid. Like,
it's like literally my function here. It's what I do.
The reason why I'm here is to record everything. So that was dumb. And then firefighters aren't going to act that way. First responders are not going to act that way because they have been drilled to be machines.
Police officers in stressful situations don't just whip their guns out on fellow firefighters. We just don't just like, it's like this. They don't do this in the situation. As a matter of fact, they do everything. And I understand that there's moments in there that kind of work, but like you said, that was the important thing, is that these were actors conveying roles that obviously they don't do for a living. Whereas Wreck really capitalized and was able to say, because that's the story they wanted to tell.
So I want to make sure that we don't put this on the actors, because it's not the actors' fault. This is a fault of producers and directors, right?
That's a fault of the people. The actors are only given what they're given.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
So
this
you're right.
is the character as a director. I would say this is a character that I want you to play. Now, if I'm a good director and I go and do my homework and look how these people would respond, and if I have issue with the way that they respond in the script, that's stuff that comes out in pre-production. Like, look, these guys are going to act this way. It's going to feel fake. It's going to feel phony.
That's true. If Jay Hernandez and Columbus Short, if Jay Hernandez had actually spent time with the Los Angeles Fire Department, in order to just like, I'm going to be shadowing you guys, I'm going to learn what you guys do, and I'm going to just to get a feel for it. And Columbus Short may have done some time shadowing the LAPD, done some ride-alongs, been on calls, like just to see what they do and to see what the level of training was. They may have immersed themselves in that, just like actors will do for military films. They'll shadow the military to determine exactly what we need to do correctly and how to do it appropriately. And they may have done that, but ultimately, if they're making choices on the scene, if they're on set and it says, as my character, I would do this, and then the director or the producer essentially say, no, we need you to do this because in the script it leads to this point. It's like that comes in, and that I think comes down to the writing. It's like if you write characters a specific way and you don't write them honestly, you're automatically going to disengage sections of your audience. The mainstream audience who are not aware of it, they're going to be like, okay, I can accept that this could occur. But the people who know, like, no, a firefighter would never do that in this situation. A firefighter would never make that very dumb decision, or an officer would never make that dumb decision in that respect. And so you see people doing stuff that's antithetical to their characters. And I said, not necessarily the actor's fault, but definitely some behind the scenes. I put it on the writer because the writer would have known, I'm not going to write my officer to yank his service weapon on a firefighter in the middle of a discussion of what to do next just because the officer can't hold his shit together.
Right.
That's not the way that works.
Especially not early on, right? Maybe later on in the film as some shit, starts to, you build the tension. And then you see the issue that I have with this is they did not earn the breaks from character or the breaks from the type of the breaks from what a first responder would do. It's like they just started that they're broken already. Like no, you have to earn that. You have to build that in there. You'll see movies where they will do that, where they will have a first responder after pressures of whatever the environment is start to break down. That's earned. They just jumped right into it and said, oh, well, we're all fucking crazy in here now. We're just going to start popping off rounds and busting down doors without checking them first and doing all kinds of shit that firefighters wouldn't do.
And
the police officers wouldn't do.
And what makes it worse is the fact that you have the correct version that already exists. If Rec never existed, I'm not saying it would make this film any, but it makes it worse because you have the correct way already established.
A lens, right? Exactly. We already have a lens to see what this should look like, and that's the problem when you do remakes. And we've discussed this multiple times. When you remake a film, even if you're changing whatever, if you remake a film, the best you can do, the majority of the time, there are a few exceptions, but the best you can do is to be as good as the original. Every now and again, you'll get some like The Thing that far surpassed the original. And anybody who says The Thing is not a remake doesn't know their ass from their elbow. It is. I'm talking to you, James H. Anise.
Fucker got called out.
Shots fired. It's a lovely show, though, by the way. Anyways, yeah, that's the thing. If you don't earn those character breaks, and if we don't have that lens of what this movie should look like, yeah, this is not a terrible movie. But because we have those things, sorry, buddy, you should have wrote your film better.
The one thing that really kind of took me out of it, unfortunately, and it was the two big things. Is one, there was a grand amount of missing commentary in this film, where it kind of like sided more. We wanted to make this more horror centric and put this more in the focus of people trying to survive and the survivalistic aspect. I would think in the wake of things like Resident Evil, that they were trying to basically ramp up the excitement, ramp up the action and the hard cuts, and try to get that, like monsters coming at the camera and shit. In a post-Resident Evil world, they absolutely want to try and capitalize on that mentality. Rec's success was in that it did not use the Resident Evil formula. It didn't use the Resident Evil formula. Right. It didn't use the Silent Hill formula. It was going for something completely new and something completely a very interesting story. You could easily fit this into the Resident Evil universe, but this wasn't the action-packed thing. It was not originally. And the commentary that's what I got the most out of the original Rec, was what they were essentially saying about the people and not the government in and of itself. Putting it on, and I was like, it completely detracts it, puts it in, and I was like, you're trying to tell one story that was set for one particular dynamic and changing everything up, changing up the foundation of that, and then I was not happy with that. Not to mention also the weird editing breaks where it seemed like it's being edited for commercials.
Yeah.
Where things would fade out and then fade back in. Where it's kind of like, like you were watching an episode of Cops.
Yeah.
Where, it's mid-action and it kind of fades out and then it goes to commercial break, then it fades back in, and then we're back in the action stuff. I got that sensation. So they try to capitalize on things that are popular in America from a filmmaking perspective, and ultimately I think that hurts the story in itself because we need that constant, continuous, claustrophobic, trapped mentality as they're moving from point to point to point to try and survive. And that's what made Wreck so fantastic. Not to mention, Wreck didn't rely very, very heavily on constantly throwing shit at the camera in order to, freak you out and stuff. There were things like that, but it wasn't a reliance. This one does the typical American formula. It relies on jump scares. It relies on loud noises, allows the shit jumping up in your face. Yeah. And then, of course, the screaming panic that, we're all out of fucking control because, except for I will say this, Jay Hernandez had his moments. Probably because he's been through Hostel at this point. And he swung that, I think he was in Hostel 2006. Was Hostel 2006? 2000?
It was somewhere around.
I want to say 2005.
Yeah,
it's one of the. Somebody will comment very.
Yeah, it was mid
2005. 2005. You're right. So Hostel was 2005. So Jay Hernandez has already been through Hostel. So he got his shit together pretty quick, and he started smashing motherfuckers with a sledgehammer. And I got to give him that. It was like, okay, cool. So this guy's been in a horror movie before. He knows. Smash him in the head. We got this. Right. We're solid. But yeah. And I love Jennifer Carpenter. I fucking love Jennifer Carpenter. I thought she was brilliant in Dexter. I thought she was good in The Revival. I loved her in Exorcism of Emily Rose. I love Jennifer Carpenter. Holy fuck. This goes on the directors and the choices they allowed her to make on screen.
Well, here's the thing. It's not necessarily the choices they allowed her to make, as the choices they chose in the cutting room floor. It's, hey, we're going to cut this movie together, and I would hope that they have at least a few different takes of a few different choices.
Right.
But
Sarcasm says, Wreck is easily my top found footage film. Quarantine is fighting for last place with Cloverfield.
Which, oddly enough, came out the same year.
Yeah.
Scuba Cat, good to see you, Scuba Cat. Thanks for being here.
One thing I wanted to say about Quarantine and all these films is that everybody talks about jump scares and they hate the reliance of jump scares. I gotta say that with found footage, especially after, I guess you could say that Blair Witch didn't have a single jump scare. It was very atmospheric and there were some scary things that were happening, but they always edged you up to there being a jump scare, but it never happened.
But it never plays out. Yeah. It was constantly edge of your seat. It was knife edge tension the entire time. Yeah.
Which worked for Blair Witch at the time. Mm-hmm. But people wanted that. They wanted that payoff. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't like found footage films so much, is because it's so easy to be over reliant on the jump scare, because that's what it is. I mean, really, hell, you've got this, they're trying to put you in the scenario, in the situation. And if we never see the bad guy or the thing that doesn't ever come out and scare you, then why am I watching this movie? So that's, again, one of the big reasons why I don't like this. But in Quarantine's, in fairness to Quarantine, we say over reliance on jump scares. I think that's kind of the way that found footage films work after Blair Witch. It had to have, a plethora of jump scares, because it had to be that moment where you could get that tension. Here it is, release, and then rebuild. Boom, and then. Yeah, I think the over reliance in horror film just got so bad. Like 2008, 2009 is when it's really everything's got to be all fuck off, man.
And as Eugene has talked about before, they telegraph that shit.
Yeah,
to the point where we can actually be like, here it comes, 3,
5,
2,
4,
1,
exactly.
and then
cue music. And this is why, I will die on this hill. And of decades of horror films, the mid 2000s is the worst decade for horror films.
Yes,
there are good ones that have come out in the mid 2000s. Don't get me wrong, there are exceptions, but overall, the way the horror film, the way they were written, the way they were acted, you get a lot of the CW. I call it horror film.
CW horror,
You get a lot of this. This scroll look on a lot of them. they don't really use like the saturation and lighting correctly. Then this is the reliance of jump scare era, and it's like you had all these things that kind of compounded together, and you just get really bad, probably about 7 years of just bad horror, and not even the fun, easy bad of like the 80s, but just bad on it. It's I'll say 2000's worst decade of horror films. I will.
We were all waiting for the next generation to grow up and finally be able to start making like Fede Alvarez and Panos Cosmatos.
Yeah.
Because all these individuals, they were young. And so we were waiting for them to grow up so that they can finally start making their own projects and start putting out good stuff.
We had to have the late 90s to probably, I would say late 90s until like 2010, 2011. Because Saw came out, 2000 and...
I think Saw 04.
I think Saw was 04. Though the last good, I would say the last good one of the 90s would probably, I'm probably going to get like raked over the coals for this, but the last really, really solid one of the 90s would have to be Scream in 1996, because that literally kicked off the meta trend. And now everybody's got to follow the Scream formula. Yeah. And so everyone became obsessed with Wes Craven's success on that one. It's like, well, how can we do it? And how can we do it a little bit differently? How can we ramp up the violence or ramp up the twist? Or how can we do this, blah, 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 like that, or whatever. And so 1996 dropped, Scream dropped, and the film was fucking phenomenal. And then all of a sudden, it skews horror.
And so that's one of the reasons why I don't like Scream now, is because it started that fucking CW style bullshit. Because if you look at Scream, it's the beginning of the CW horror era. It really
is wild, because Scream 2 was arguably better than the first one.
Right.
But see, the thing is it works for Scream because it's ironic, because Scream is meta. It does, it works. But then all these people, they try to lean on it, so now they're kind of fueling more towards the irony of Scream by doing the CW cast and My Bloody Valentine and so forth and so forth on it. But I would say,
and the Friday the 13th and the fucking Friday the 13th remake.
Oh yeah, Freddy versus Jason and stuff like that. On it.
Halloween H2O.
Exactly. But I would say probably the last good horror film, I would go Blair Witch, because it came out in 99, and it was, Blair Witch to me arguably the best found footage film, just because of what it had to work with and what it did. But there's not, about a 10-year gap, there's not many good horror films.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this I want to come down to, I know that we discussed it at length, and I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be. And God, there's a lot of Cloverhead, there's a lot of Cloverleaf love and some not love in the chat. I see that. We mentioned Cloverfield, and it just went off on that tangent. Aaron Reed says, Weekend Horror, I know you see my comments. I'm not Johnny O. You can't ignore my comments. Aaron Reed said that, and horror movies were becoming more mainstream, so studios were jumping on the wagon. Absolutely. That was the problem, is that they saw the success that came along with Scream, and they saw the success that ostensibly came along with Blair Witch Project, 1996 and 1999. The thing with those is that you had one found footage and you had one meta horror. The success of Blair Witch Project, over $275 million off of a $60,000 budget, and then Scream, meta horror, catapulted that whole genre, and then everybody wanted to jump on those and make that fast either found footage money or that fast meta horror money. And then let's say there was, and honestly, as far as meta horror goes, I can't think of any that did it better than Scream. And then as far as found footage goes, the only one that did it better, or I think did it better, was the first Paranormal Activity. But that kind of wore itself after that trope, putting the cameras in the house to get like the haunted house style. Yeah, it was cool because it was well shot and it was written.
Boring.
But it hit once, and then they tried to ring that. Well, effectively, they've rung that bell like 9 more times. So
they cash cow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Paranormal
and they're still milking it.
Wasn't good until they spoofed it with Marlon Wayans.
Oh, and Ronell says best meta horror, Cabin in the Woods, fight me. And I won't fight you on that one. It was an excellent meta horror, but that's also in the vein of kind of like the CW style, because that was Drew Goddard and that was Joss Whedon. And Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon have that on lock from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. They established that in 1996. Essentially, Cabin in the Woods is the same formula tracking along the same lines. It's like that's where we get that is really just about them continuing that kind of like the normal is not normal trend. Right. Whereas with Buffy it was high school is hell, and this one it was the horror films are not the horror films Right. And so, Aaron Reese says VHS was amazing. VHS was amazing. I love VHS because VHS was not only found footage, VHS was anthology, which is different than a found footage. They may be found footage, but the anthology helps us to embrace each one individually because they're short. It's short form horror,
right?
In the found footage style, which alleviates some of that, so we're not constantly stuck in the found footage for an hour and a fucking half. So, all right, but I do want to ask the audience, and I think I know what the answer is. Is that what is your favorite of the two franchises? Technically, Quarantine isn't a franchise. It only has 2 movies. But did you prefer Quarantine or Wreck? Which one did you like? Let us know in the live chat or in the comments below. And let us know why. Or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. All right, Eugene. So I gave you a good classic, Eugene.
This is by far one of the best movies we have talked about in 3 years.
It totally blew my mind. I totally forgot about that cameo in the front. But go ahead, Eugene, kick us off.
All right, next we got the wonderful, amazing Puppet Master, which was released October 12th, 1989.
Yeah, buddy.
Roll it!
In a house of mysteries.
This hotel seems to have quite a history, Mrs. Gallagher.
Who are you people?
A research team with special powers.
Oh my God.
She's experiencing the past because we are all joined by our thoughts.
Has uncovered an ancient secret.
I have something I want to show you.
Metaphysically speaking, I killed myself.
But they are playing with an evil force.
What would you do with the power?
You can't save her, Alex.
They have given life to a deadly power.
We're all in danger.
And now a box of little toys
I think someone's in the room, Frank.
has become a gang of little terrors.
Uh-oh.
Pinhead. Blade. Ms. Leach. Jester. And Tunneler. Irene Miracle, Paul Lamont, Barbara Crampton, and William Hickey as the Puppet Master.
Okay, while Eugene's doing that, I'm just going to put this here. Okay, I want everybody to remember this while Eugene's doing his thing.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to get good.
For those only listening, he's put up a picture of Pinhead from Puppet Master, of the puppet, the big bulky one with the tiny little head. He's put that picture on the screen.
So, directed by David Smoller and starring, as the trailer already gave away, Paul Lamont, William Hickey, Irene Miracle, and Barbara Crampton. And, I mean, basically, in a nutshell, you have an Egyptian spell that brings these toys to life, and these toys fucking run a rampage. And shit gets real.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy, does it get real.
Totally gets real.
So now that we've all seen Pinhead here.
John, so I can't believe he's going to show this.
I found Pinhead for real here.
That looks CGI to me. Come on.
You know what? I thought the same shit until I saw more and more of this guy's stuff. Like, oh my god.
He's the real life pinhead.
The real life pinhead.
That's amazing. That is hilarious. So I will have to say, we keep bringing up Barbara Crampton's name, and of course we would, because Barbara Crampton is a legend, and we all love Barbara Crampton, and I follow her on Twitter.
She's not bad to look at, by the way.
And, obviously, but I follow her on Twitter, and I love her Twitter account. So if you haven't followed Barbara Crampton on Twitter, she's amazing. But she's literally in this for like 3 minutes. So
the very beginning of the film.
It's literally the very beginning. And it was wild because this is 1989, so she wasn't exactly like the biggest of stars at the time. It's like she just happened to be in it for like 3 minutes at the very beginning. But by the time the film hit its theatrical release, she'd exploded in name. Yeah. So it's like it's in between. It was like, oh holy shit, Barbara Crampton is it? Yeah.
They
couldn't, come on, guys.
Say that they did. That wasn't their claim that we put Barbara Crampton here because they just hired Barbara Crampton,
right? Because she's literally credited as Woman at Carnival. Yeah. Oh man, but it was I think it was cool because the Puppet Master franchise has been going on so long, and it's so iconic at this point. But I think there are like was it? I know that the movie's in the teens is how many movies there are in this franchise.
17 or 18, I think. Yeah.
But it was fantastic going back and seeing the straight horror that Charles Band and the guy and the people over at Full Moon were initially going for. It's a straight horror film. These puppets and the killing people in this respect. No exposition, no real backstory. Here's the situation: psychics trapped in a hotel with a bunch of killer puppets.
Right.
And that's all you need right there. Then you have, and this is the thing, you have so many great creative kills because you have leeches. My favorite, the drill, the tunneler when he drills into a guy's face. There's just great moments. There's great moments and such great variety because how often do you get to see people killed by? I mean, really, like how often you don't get to see that, and so it's just fun.
Hey, Sean Michael Beasley, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate that.
John? Yeah, I love this movie. I saw this when I was a kid, and just a bunch of toys running around killing people, and it's like, yeah, it was so cool. I love that shit. It really was. It was one of the most fun movies I've seen as a kid, because they were so serious, right? They were just so serious. Right. You could tell this was a straight horror film. And they kept that through. I think the first two were meant to be straight horror films. And the third one's when it kind of started teetering on the...
Well, they made them more kind of like anti-heroes.
Yeah.
They were kind of... And 3 and 4 kind of like... 3 made them into anti-heroes, and then the 4th made them into protagonists, where they were protecting from the little demon ones, from the demons that were coming.
Right.
And then, so there was a strange, but this was like when they were just straight villains, just bad guys in that respect.
Yeah, I'm like, go ahead, Eugene. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, get it right because I like how you capitalize on why it works is because it's a straight seriousness, and I like to call it the airplane syndrome. The movie Airplane works because everybody's serious the entire time. Like this is just the world that they live in, and they just. There's jokes every 5 seconds in that film, but that's just their world, and they just play off of that. Puppet Master's the same way. Puppet Master shot like a horror film. Everything is serious about is serious about it, and that's what makes it so good because you know exactly what the director's doing. You know the feel of it. Everybody hits, and this was the atmosphere. This was the mood. This is exactly what they're going for, and by playing serious is why it works.
Yeah, even the fact that it gets like the series gets really silly. I mean, again, how can you not? After I want to say it's 17 films. Regardless, you kind of have to get like, look, man, what else are we gonna do here?
Well, for a while there, they kind of took the Chucky route, where they went a little bit camp, and they kind of like they doubled down on the nudity and the gratuitous violence and the grossness, and so and they played for the laughs, but then it kind of like swung back. But then they've also done the Chucky thing, where it swung back over, back into straight horror with movies like Littlest Reich, and then the spinoff that's going to be coming out about, I think it's going to be coming out about Blade. So there's a bunch of different. So they've really played around with it. But these initial beginnings were fantastic, and I want to give it up for this. In 1989, it's a simple story. There's not a ton of things that kind of weigh it down. A bunch of people are a bunch of psychics are called together by this one dude who is literally trying to use this ancient technique he has in order to build this kind of army, to become a more of this army of immortals and shit. Right. And then the puppets are essentially how he's able to do this, because they set up the whole thing at the front with William Hickey. Who, if you remember William Hickey from movies like I think it was Mouse Hunt. He was in Mouse Hunt, but you may also remember him from Tales from the Dark Side, because he was not only on the show, but he was also in the movie Tales from the Dark Side. The movie, he was the guy who had the black cat, the rich guy who paid the hitman off to kill the cat, and it was one of my favorite parts of that movie. But William Hickey is fantastic and plays Andre Toulon just that long. Barbara Crampton's in it for just that long. And then, of course, we get into the real meat and potatoes of the story. And so I will give them this. The stop motion that they utilized for this, I enjoyed it. And I thought it was extraordinarily well done. It was so well done because it wasn't overused. Right. It was only necessary for brief moments. And I also loved it because they used the old classic technique. The wonderful thing about a movie like this is that you can go back and watch the old school little camera tricks that they would use in order to make these things work. Like, for example, the scene when Pinhead comes out of the coffin. And I'm looking at the coffin's set up on this thing, and it's the old classic magician's trick where you can kind of see underneath the coffin, but there's somebody there because Pinhead comes up and they're obviously human hands coming up underneath the deal, and then and then the puppet's there and everything. It was like, oh, I see how they did this. Cool, because they use the classic false, where you can see through it, but it's not really
really there. Yeah,
exactly. So they get you see all the cool little camera tricks that they utilize in order to bring the puppets to life and make them functional. And then of course the sparing use of stop motion, but stop motion is still expensive. Stop motion will always be expensive because of the time it takes to pull it off. And if it's over-reliant, they're not trying to make a Ray Harryhausen film here, so we only need the stop motion in brief moments in order to kind of give a sense.
That's kind of what helps the movie work too with creepiness is that stop motion. These toys, they're supposed to be toys or dolls. They have that. I've always thought stop motion was far more creepy than any of the CGI bullshit that's come out. Not that CGI is terrible, but it just doesn't work as well as the stop motion stuff, especially in this type of setting.
Because but you knew it was going to be different. That opening sequence, you knew it was going to be interesting. When Blade is making his way through it's like, making his way through the hotel, and then there's the one moment nobody sees this fucker. I was like, how is it possible nobody sees this thing running around like this? And then finally up there on the top floor, running the thing, and then the one woman walks out of the room and immediately looks down. And then Blade looks at her. And then I was like, this movie's gonna be fucking amazing. I love that. I totally had forgotten that sequence, and I love going back, and she's like, it's like this living puppet running down the hallway, and he looks at her, and runs off, and I was like, this is brilliant.
And getting back to it, it really was inventive. Like, how many times have you ever seen leeches used to kill somebody in a movie? Any movie, not even just a horror film outside of Leech, but whatever. We're not talking about. But it's not it's
also that gross idea,
Yeah. It's weird too because there's this whole sexual thing going on, and it starts out with this dude and his wife, or I think it's his wife. They're whatever, and she gets dead or whatever. No, she goes to the bathroom or some shit. I can't remember exactly what happens, but she's out of the picture, and all of a sudden it's this little 3-inch or 3 whatever, this teeny tiny little thing vomiting up
Oh, she was already dead. Tunneler got her. Because it's a rule in horror films that if you hear something in the room and under the bed, you have to go look.
You have to go look.
Oh, of course.
And mind you, if you're blindfolded, you can't hear very well.
Right.
So when your sex partner is getting drilled to death, haha.
And so I was like, I'm sitting here thinking, and it kept popping up, and I really didn't care. It did not ruin the experience for me, but I kept popping up in my head. It's like, why are you people dodging this shit?
Yeah.
It's like, why? It's like, it's coming from like a mile away.
Right.
Like, it's not like he's fucking, Michael Johnson. You know, it's like
Zamboni.
And it's like, no. And I'm like, girl, just stand up.
Yeah.
Just
take one step to the left. You're good. Safe. Done.
But yes, De Nova 28, the fucking leech puppet was the most fucked up part. Yeah. That was fucking twisted. The first one and the second one were straight horror, absolutely. Before they made and this was long before they made the roll in the camp. Something interesting about the franchise is that initially Full Moon had sold the distribution rights to the first 5 films. And so it took them forever to get those rights back. So those movies were never actually released. They were initially released on DVD, but Full Moon didn't have the rights to them. They finally reacquired them and they released them as a 5 DVD box set, which was the first 5 Puppet Master films. That's why it took so long for them to really get to, I think, to get to a home release, because they were released theatrically, and then it took forever to get them to actual home release because Full Moon didn't have those distribution rights. Luckily, they got them, and they've maintained them ever since, so they have full control of the Puppet Master franchise. And it was in those first 5 where we got the kind of weird, kind of like villainous to antihero to protagonist, back to the antihero kind of arc. And 3, I think, was actually the best, in my personal opinion, just because it shows the backstories to all of them, how they were made, the backstory of Toulon and his wife, and during World War II, and the kind of the tool experiments to try and make living or like undead soldiers that could just be bodies on the battlefield. But this was, despite all the other things that Full Moon had going on. Because it's not just Puppet Master. They also made a bunch of other movies as well. Because they also have Dollman. They had Dollman going on. They had Demonic Toys.
Yeah.
But this was the franchise that made them, and it is the one that has had the staying power the most. And I was kind of curious as to, it's pretty simple. It's just killer puppets, and we've seen other killer doll movies, Dolly Dearest and Dolls, and what is it about this that has literally been the bread and butter for Full Moon? No matter what they've got going on, they can always go back to the Puppet Master franchise, and it will always be eaten up.
It's pure nostalgia and pure campiness.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? Because if you grew up on these movies, perhaps you should have mentioned Dollman, but if you grew up on these movies, if you fell in love with the Puppet Master based on the first film, you loved it from day one, right? You were just there. It didn't matter because they were just fun. You didn't, after the first 2, you saw what happened the third. If you didn't get turned off, you realized that, hey, look, they're just going to beat this because it's fun. And we had fun doing it. We had fun watching these movies. And ultimately, that's where a movie becomes good and has staying power. You can have a great movie, but if you don't go back to it and have fun with it, then it's not a really great movie, is it? It's these films like the Puppet Master series that, they grab a hold of us because they're fun to watch. It's just fun. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to sit there and decode all this, all this stuff. What are they trying to say here? What is Tiny or Pinhead or Blade or the lead? What are they trying to say? No, it's fun. You're telling people, and their little dolls doing it, and it's fun. That's the important part here. That's what people love. That's the reason.
And we can always make more.
Exactly.
For future, we can always invent more. 6-shooter, obviously one of my faves. Torch kind of came out of nowhere. Torch was pretty cool. 6-shooter is always going to be one of my favorite ones. Yeah. I always dug the idea of the 6-armed doll with the guns and shit.
Yeah, right.
I mean, but the thing is you're right. It's fun. That's it. Listen, we love deep films as much as the next person, but every once in a while, it's just kind of nice to throw something on that you can laugh at and have fun that you don't
have to think about. Yeah, that's the best part. Just press play, enjoy the movie.
wrote it in no last name, says, "Pa, tell me about when movies were fun again." Absolutely. So
Back in
yeah,
my day, honey.
a franchise that's easily put together. You can dive into it at any point. You can do essentially whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
Continuity is one thing, but a franchise like this, they've jumped around the continuity so many times, you don't even got to worry about it too much.
Right.
And it's even crossed over, like they did the crossover with Demonic Toys, which was weird, but nonetheless, it still kind of works in the full moon way. And for those who have not watched Demonic Toys, the first one, go back and watch that one. It's actually pretty fucking freaky. I will say this. It has some freaky shit in it.
That's moments.
Yeah. Cindy Sue, Pa, tell me when movies weren't remakes. And yes, Joshua Lee, Arachnophobia was the same way. It was just a movie to enjoy. You didn't have to think too hard about it. Big bad spider makes it to America, starts fucking people up. It's pretty much it.
There's nothing wrong with making a popcorn eater.
Right.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong. And listen, as long as the audience enjoys your film, which people can enjoy in many different ways, but as long as people enjoy it, you're successful.
You did good, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. This movie was first released on VHS by Paramount. Paramount Home Video released it in 1989 on VHS, but it didn't see a DVD release until 2000 through Full Moon, because that's when they were able to reacquire the distribution rights to it. So if you've got those Puppet Master VHSs out there, that's a collector's item right there.
It is.
But all right, I want to go and I want to ask this. What is your favorite Puppet Master entry? There's a lot.
Oh yeah,
like a lot. But what is your favorite one out of the many that are made?
Oh yeah, Patronum Regime says my favorite Puppet Master film is the Donald Sutherland one with the aliens. The Puppet Master. I see what you did there. Ha
Yeah.
Actually, technically, it wasn't the Puppet Masters. That was
Puppet Master.
Was it? No, was that the Puppet Masters? But was that the Puppet Masters, or was that with the Donald Sutherland? Was that Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right?
Yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers was a riff off of Robert Heinlein's The Puppet Masters, which was eventually released as an actual adaptation. Travis Brown says Puppet Master 3. Agreed. I say Puppet Master 3 was fantastic because we got some. It was heartfelt. It had all the pieces all the right places. We got good, succinct backstories. The backstory behind all the puppets, how he found the formula, and plus, who doesn't fucking love? I mean, you got killer puppets taking out people who are bad, like doing the anti-hero thing, but killer puppets killing Nazis. What's not to love? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I just love these movies. They're so much fun.
They really are.
They really are.
All right, Johnny, take us home.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, you mentioned in the previous one, because I felt in the last trailer I was able to let it slide because it was so fast in the elevator scene. It was so fast I was able to let it go by. I was kind of like, I wasn't too worried about it. That's not the same. That's not the truth for this trailer. I actually had to edit this trailer. I had to actually cut this trailer. So, because it was like, okay, that's just a little too gratuitous. Come on, guys. So, I had to actually edit this one for YouTube purposes. Okay. I think that the previous one, it was so fast, I don't think it should be problematic.
We all saw it. It was there.
We saw it. We know what we saw.
Listen, who here hasn't seen a nipple before? Come on.
I will tell you, like one of the shocking days. It's like I was on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for a long time, and I've been you've seen whatever you could see on YouTube, but I've never seen like that just straight up on YouTube until I came across a Friday the 13th fan film. And I was like, I'm going to watch this Friday the 13th fan film. So I'm watching it, and I'll tell you, like 15 minutes in, I'm like, holy shit, YouTube nudity. What is this? Comment, what is going on here? It's like full on. I was like, holy shit. Am I in the UK YouTube? What the hell is happening?
That was RedTube, by the way.
Oh, oops, my bad.
Misspelled YouTube.
I downloaded the wrong version.
Damn it.
I think I downloaded the wrong version of Puppet Master here.
I think I downloaded the right version. All right, let's don't look for Brazilian on YouTube. We won't. All right, so we are talking about the 2001 trailer for the film Dagon.
What is that sigh? Let's watch the trailer.
Yeah. Let's watch the edited for content trailer.
Edited for content trailer.
Yeah. G version.
And the trailer's done.
Vivid Films presents.
I'm thinking like what is it like Cinema Sins? Cinema Sins here.
The Fantasy Factory
off the coast of España.
Honey, our stock could be going underwater and we wouldn't even know it.
What are you doing? I'm just going on vacation.
I'd say we've got a storm coming up.
Brace yourself!
We're gonna have to take the raft into that town for help. Hello? We need help!
What kind of church is this?
What the hell's going on here?
Yes. If I need glasses to see, I'm going to make sure and take them off. See.
I'm supposed to meet someone here? A woman? Senorita? You want to tell me what's wrong with everybody in this town?
I tell you a secret. No one leaves. People come, but no one leaves.
Why are you trying to kill us? What did we do to you?
I am here. I've been waiting for you.
Barbara?
They is Dagon.
And the child will be immortal.
If it happens to me, you've got to promise you'll kill me.
Come on, motherfucker.
We are children of Dagon. It is your destiny. You will forget your world and your friends. There will be no time, no today, no yesterday. Only the forever, and forever, and forever without end.
I don't have a choice, do I?
Fucking A. Shut up. This movie is great.
Great pile of shit.
No, come off it.
Oh, it's a bunch of fish fucking, but whatever.
Denova's a fishy incest.
All right.
That makes it better.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, Dagon is
the rules are different for fish people. Thank you very much.
Are they? Are they though? Anyway, it's a horror film directed by Stuart Gordon, who has done many H.P. Lovecraft adaptations. Now, this is actually based on the novella "The Shadow over Innsmouth," rather than Dagon, even though it's got the name Dagon. It's kind of
technically Dagon was the deity referenced in the short story Shadow over Innsmouth.
Right,
yes.
right. But Dagon was anyway. Who cares? You guys get into it.
Sir Little says, "Is it really incest when you have gills?"
I think so. I still think it's incest. I think so. Yes, it's incest. I don't give a shit. It's just wrong. Maybe that's why they have gills.
Well, they were half brother, half sister.
Doesn't make it better.
It's not making it better.
Anyway, you've got This is who is in this film? Some dumbass and there's another dumbass and a bunch of dumbasses. Starring Ezra Gordon, Francis Rabal, and Raquel Moreno. This movie, as you see, starts out with a couple.
Don't forget, man, Macarena Gomez, man.
My bad. No, because she had the teeth, and I was like, done.
She was
out.
Great, dude.
Out with the
she had tentacle legs.
Yeah, I know. That was like, nope, ruined it. Done.
I'm sorry. I'll die on this hill. She was fucking hot.
Not with tentacle legs. And then the teeth. Done. Nope.
Have you tried it?
I will not.
Don't knock until you tried it. It's like, come on. If she was like real, if she was into him, if she was really that into you, like into you.
Nope. That's all. That's a Jordan.
Thank you, Denova 28. Macarena was freaking hot.
Not in this movie. She had friggin' tentacle legs and the teeth. Yeah. No Men in Black 3 for me. Come on now. Anyway, two couples are on vacation. As you saw, they run into this storm that maroons their boat. Turns out that this town that seems to be derelict is overrun by fishy people. And good Lord, shit gets weird.
Maybe that should be the new shirt.
Yeah.
Shit gets weird. And there should be tentacles on it.
Yeah. Yep. This is like bark.
Jason Hyatt says resisting urge to make joke about eating raw octopus. Johnny I was like Aaron Reese says, yeah, but squid have a sharp beak between their tentacles.
Oh, the teeth sound. Oh, I hate that sound so much. Get your teeth breaking.
There's too many kids in the live chat is fucking killing me. Joshua Lee, the fishy taste.
It may smell like fish, but it tastes like chicken.
That's going in the trailer.
The trailer's just going to be this episode. That's just it.
Yeah.
Sir Captain says, I'm with Johnny on this one. Blink, you fish-smelling tentacle-legged frag. So obviously, I love this particular one. It's an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's Shadow over Innsmouth, and it essentially follows the cult of Dagon, who are mutated into these half-fish, half-human people, and of course, these new individuals wind up stranded on the island, and in the middle of this big ceremony where ostensibly they're about to all return to the sea to live with Dagon for forever. Aaron says, "Come on, a little tartar sauce, a little Astro Glide, and you're good." That's fucked up. Genova, hope she doesn't ink. Oh, it's so salty and warm.
Continue.
So, despite our childish preoccupation with the thought of like fish people sex, this Sir Keps is demonetized again.
They demonetized the next episode for this.
This is literally
YouTube like, you owe us another episode.
This is true. Gosh, Backfire, did I miss anything? Oh my good friend. Oh my good friend.
Do not rewind this episode.
I wrote a no list name says, and unsubscribe. All right, so the Joshua Lee says the important thing is which half is the fishy part.
Doesn't matter.
So the one thing that's amazing about this one, and somebody brought it up in the live chat, is that yes, H.P. Lovecraft's work is extremely difficult to translate to film. And there are a variety of things. Oh my god. Salt and vinegar flavored. Genova says, does the cupping aspect make it hotter? So, despite this, yes, we have seen throughout, pretty much the history of film, H.P. Lovecraft's works are do not ask for the seafood platter. Is it yes? H.P. Lovecraft's works have always been very difficult to translate. There's aspects to his work that just that are better in written format, and especially the cosmic horror aspects. Now, fortunately, in Shadow over Innsmouth, this was more of his, less of his kind of like metaphysical, esoteric horror, where it's really more about just the horror of these monsters living in this city and then people being trapped amongst them. And essentially, in the original story, it was about a guy coming and, just like in the movie, he shows up and realizes that he's actually one of them. That's why he was drawn there. He was essentially kind of drawn to return to his people and then return to the place of his birth, where then they were all going to return to the ocean. Few people have been able to really grasp Lovecraft and translate that to screen. Stuart Gordon and Brian Yuzna are two of those individuals who've been able to do this. Specifically, Stuart Gordon, because he's directed so much adapted from H.P. Lovecraft, but Brian Yuzna also has a mind for it, because Brian Yuzna came up underneath Stuart Gordon, and, because both of them, from, Reanimator and Society and From Beyond, we can see that they have a knack for doing so. The problem is that the handful of directors that can successfully do this, I'm not reading that, that can successfully do this, to translate Lovecraft's work correctly to film, or successfully to film, is few and far between. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. I kind of wanted to dive, that's why I wanted to dive into this. What was it about Stuart Gordon's work that allowed him to successfully do this, that allowed him to succeid where so many have failed? Because I can literally say, Brian Yuzna, Stuart Gordon, Panos Cosmatos, Richard Stanley. I couldn't even go any further. I think maybe if I did some research, come up with a few others, but what is it about Gordon?
He leaned into the grossness of H.P. Lovecraft. He leaned into that shit. He fucking, I'm embracing it. Look at the stuff that he's done. Look at Reanimator. Look how just insanely gross that is. Take out all the funny shit that, that's whatever. We all know what I'm talking about with Barbara Cranston and the Headless Doctor. But
so lean into the body horror, and then the rest of it will follow.
Right. For him, it did, right? Because it just made sense, right? Stuart Gordon connected with H.P. Lovecraft in a way that very few have. I think on a love for the story, right? So he used that story, and he used the grossness in the story to help tell a story. Because if you watch Reanimator, it's not really true to H.P. Lovecraft's novella.
To Herbert, yeah.
Right. But it's great. And it's very Lovecraftian. When you look at Castle Freak, the original, the new one's fucked.
Yeah.
Castle Freak, the original, he still leans into it. And of course, it doesn't hurt that he's got Jeffrey Combs in both those films, and he's just phenomenal, right? Jeffrey Combs is phenomenal, whatever he does. Be it some weird alien on Star Trek 70 million or the Lovecraftian stuff, he's just great. And I don't know, Stuart Gordon just seemed, because he leaned into the grossness, he leaned into that storytelling, he made it a part of the story. So when you watched those movies that Stuart Gordon did that were based on Lovecraft films, you just came to appreciate how much he appreciated the body horror.
Right.
He didn't use it as a gimmick either. And that's, for me, it doesn't feel gimmicky. It feels like it's supposed to be here, even though it is a gimmick.
And I loved his reliance on practical effects. He recognized that practical effects are what would sell this, and that we'll always tell these stories. Is like what is physically happening in front of you, which is why I think it also works. Like, for example, Richard Stanley, what he did with Color Out of Space. What made there was a lot of CGI. There was a fair amount of CGI in that, but a lot of it was atmospheric CGI. It was stuff that was going on just to kind of create the environment. But as far as things like the llama goes and a number of other weirdness in it, they relied on in-camera effects or practical effects as best they could. And that's because there's a way or a way to capture body horror in such a way that can only be done with practical effects. That's why I really enjoy the fact that the CGI was so little done in Dagon. The only CGI you get in the movie is when, like, the Dagon monster, when the monster actually comes up out of the well and then grabs the girl. But it's so brief, you can almost kind of like, oh, okay, I didn't really need to see it anyway. So we just get the sense that there's this great monster down there. So I'm glad that they didn't double down on that. And then all of the underwater scenes were all done practically, and I thought were extremely well done. Because actors, you can typically tell when they're holding their breath. And I thought that was just brilliant. So everything about it just translates. And I think I agree with you on this. Stuart Gordon realized, as I think any good director would, that cosmic horror, the idea of these kind of like these metaphysical concepts, really don't translate well because they're in the imagination. They have to be occurring upstairs. But there are entailments to that horror, which will have effects that you can actually put on film. And so if you lean really, really hard into them, then people will get themselves to the metaphysical horror of Lovecraft all on their own. You just need to start with, like, this is what you see, now think about the things that are behind this shit. And so that may be what it is, that people too often try to get across the depth of the writing. And in the writing, they try to get across the metaphysical idea. It's like, here's this. But that really, I mean, that's damn near impossible. Go with what's, just like, go with the reality. Black Mountainside is a great example. It was the violence, the insanity, and the weird kind of things, and showing people from their point of view, showing their hallucinations and shit, and doing it practically. That's what made that. And then you say, well, what's going on behind them? Oh, it's great and it's horror, and that really transcends the boundaries. So I think that's kind of what separates it, that he knew what worked. And so you put on screen what works. Don't try to incorporate shit that you really can't translate. Put the scary shit up there. And recognize that Herbert West Reanimator, what's like bodies being resurrected, double down on the absurdity of it. Because that's what Reanimator was just fucking absurd. And of course, Jeffrey Combs, that's in your casting, lean into that shit, Get a job.
And it had
it was get a job in a sideshow or some shit.
Yeah, Eugene, go ahead. I've given this movie enough praise.
I mean, the thing is this, and we've talked about practical effects time and time again, is there's a certain craft and there's a certain love that goes into building practical effects. As when you watch people who build effects for a living and you see them in their craft, even some of the people that we've worked with on projects like Nail Gun and Black Clown and some of these other projects, watching them build heads, build body parts, and there's a certain love and care and TLC that goes with that. When we did the head smash for Black Clown, our effects artist spent like 4 days building it, and it would basically like carried like the head around like, oh, this is my child, and I can't wait to smash it on camera, but this is my child. There's just this love that goes into it versus a lot of CGI, or there's nothing physical, so it's more numbers.
Well, I don't want to shit on CGI as it's because it's very difficult doing CG stuff. A lot of people do have that; they do take that, but I think that practical effects just look better because it's real. It's something that you could go physically touch, versus
it's something that the actors can react to because they can. It's physically on set. You can see it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I do agree that when you have somebody actually building a head to smash, or whatever they're building the bodies to burn, all that stuff, I mean, there is a level of love and care that goes into each thing to make it as good as possible. I mean, the bitch of it is, and we've talked about this before, there are tons of stuff that the set designers and practical effects designers do that just doesn't get seen because after the final product comes out, maybe the saturation is bad, or it's too dark and you can't actually see the care and design of the castle in Castle Freak, or there's some things that you just don't get to see. But even still, when it's a practical effect, I don't know. For me, it's just like I know that it's a real thing. I know that that's a real. I could go pick that up and play with it if I wanted to. You know what I mean?
And also the fact that we're now seeing the aging process of CGI, because when you've built CGI in 720p or in 1080, because that was the resolution at the time, and now people are watching 4K. And now you're starting to see it's like, man, some of this doesn't age well versus practical effect. A practical effect will always look the same.
Right.
Unless it's Jurassic Park.
I was going to say, there is one exception to that, and it's Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's Jurassic Park on it. And then you have James Cameron, because James Cameron just builds his own, like,
whatever
resolution and stuff
Right.
on it. But everything else, it's always going to look the same. So when you watch films like The Thing will always look like The Thing, regardless. 20 years, 30 years from now, on a 10K TV, it's going to look exactly the same, versus even some of these films that come out in the early to mid 2000s that were really experimenting with CGI, and it doesn't age well.
I'll say the big difference between 1982's The Thing and 2011's The Thing is, like, when you have a sequence where the dog is trapped in there with the other dog, where the thing is trapped in there with the other dogs, and its head splits apart, and the skull of it falls out. You know, like, these things can only be achieved with practical effects, and to any level of effect. You've got to be able to see that shit, like, there. And the same thing is, like, it's why it didn't really translate so well in the prequel, just because it's like, oh yeah, it's big and it's nasty, but man, the CGI, we need it there. The actors have to be able to be like Kurt Russell when he's like, holy shit, you know, like, damn, you know, to have it be there in his face. Like, look at the head, the Norris head running around and be like, fucking die, bitch, you know, shit like that.
Right. No, exactly true. And, you know, that just goes to show, when you take a look at the prequel of The Thing, it's not a bad movie.
It's not.
The story is consistent. Like, if you put this up right, and if you play this movie before you get to the Carpenter's Thing, it makes logical sense. It works. The story works. The only thing that pulls me away from the movie is the over-reliance on CG effects.
Right.
Outside of that, there's some barking. Outside of that, it's a great film.
Yeah, it really is. But that's the way it goes sometimes.
You talking about this one, Dagon?
I was talking about the 2011.
Oh, yeah, the prequel, absolutely. But yeah, that was the wild thing about this one, is I love going back and watching this one occasionally. I will always check out a Lovecraft film whenever it pops up, and, you know, in my recommended, and be like, oh, what did they attempt to do today, and how did they fail in doing it? Very rarely have I found one that's like, that really captures the essence of it. Like I said, Color Out of Space is one, Black Mountain Side is another. Dagon did successfully. I would actually think that Cthulhu, shockingly, and don't rake me over the coals for this one, Cthulhu, the one that came out in 2001, I think it was 2001 or 2002, with Tori Spelling. Yes, Tori Spelling was in this movie, but she wasn't in it that much. She was just kind of like name drop, and she was there. She played a tertiary character. But that story was pretty fantastic, and was also an adaptation of The Shadow over Innsmouth, obviously because it's one of the easiest ones to adapt. The Dean Stockwell one of the Dunwich Horror was not too bad, but unfortunately they tried to bite off more than they could chew. To try to convey that with the budget they had just really didn't work out so well. But I try to see whatever comes along, and I will always recommend the goofiness and low budget hilarity of The Last Lovecraft if you haven't seen that one, because it's stupid funny. It has some great moments in it, and it's just, a lot. It's like I said, it's a popcorn film, and it's Lovecraftian, but it's so fucking just goofy as hell. So if you haven't had an opportunity, yes, Rodney Last Name says someday we will get our Del Toro at the Mountains of Madness. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we will. Until then, we will always have the Carpenter trilogy, which is The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and of course, In the Mouth of Madness, which is still legendary. And great Lovecraftian shit in that one. So, but Stuart Gordon was able to capture the seemingly impossible, and he did it so many times, which is why I think any of his films are just fantastic. Especially for the guy who fucking made. This is the guy who did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Well,
which just blows my mind.
hang on. He got a story by, so he started the story out, and I think what happened was the executives who saw this supposed to be family friendly film saw the Stuart Gordon treatment. We're like, I don't see tentacle vagina as family friendly. I'm giving you the opportunity to answer this question, JL.
I don't think. Oh, this one. Where's the love for Whisperer in Darkness? Okay, so Whisperer in Darkness, I classify up there with like Cool Air. That it kind of gets there, but still doesn't successfully do it. I still enjoyed it. I just think that there have been many attempts to translate H.P. Lovecraft's works. Some can do it, some cannot, because I think we've ascertained here, they simply focus, the director of the production focuses on the wrong things. They don't allow the audience. They try to do the work for the audience instead of allowing the audience's imagination to do the work, to do the heavy lifting. Show the scary stuff. Show the entailments of what this. Show there's the cosmic horror. What are the effects of the cosmic horror? Double down. Go really, really deep in the paint with the effects. Let the audience's imagination carry them to the cosmic horror. If it doesn't, then they just got a really gloppy, gross, movie. But if it does, then you've really, really succeeded. Which is something I think that Gordon was unique in his ability to do. Probably because he loves the source material. He loved his work, which is why he worked in it so many times, and he was always backed up. Whenever Stuart Gordon was going for funding, these adaptations, like whenever he was working on an adaptation, they were always the quickest he was able to get funded. Because people are like, hell yes, you have a mind for it, and they're always like, everyone will jump on it. So I think that's where it was. Whisper of the Darkness wasn't bad, I just don't think it really makes the grade. Not when you have movies like Cthulhu out there or Black Mountainside. Yeah, Sir Cat. Yeah, Black Mountainside was decent. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, Ordinary Jeff says, did they make an adaptation of Cool Air? I just read that recently. They did. There have been 2 adaptations of Cool Air. The one with Ashley Lawrence is the one I'm referring to from Hellraiser fame. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by a very cute little kid who just got back from Trunk or Treat and
awesome.
Gave me some little Twix.
Aww.
Yeah. Aaron Reese says, stop trying to portray evil that will drive you mad upon sight, because when we see it, and obviously don't go mad, it's spoiled. True.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh Lee, Color Out of Space. Absolutely. Anybody who's listened to this podcast long enough has heard me. I will laud that movie all up and down. I fucking loved Richard Stanley's adaptation of Color Out of Space. I thought it was brilliantly done. And unfortunately, as it turns out, Richard Stanley is a fucking asshole, and it's the reason why we will not get the remainder of the Lovecraftian trilogy that he was supposed to direct, which really fucking pisses me off. Because we were supposed to get Color Out of Space, which we got, then we were supposed to get Dunwich Horror, then we were supposed to get an unnamed third one, which is supposedly, from what I heard, was probably going to be like the original Cthulhu story, but unfortunately, he fucked it up. So it really, really aggravated the shit out of me, but at least we got the first one,
That's a lot of movies that good old Stuart Gordon has done.
Definitely a lot.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to ask you, the audience members. What is your favorite Stuart Gordon film? Let me know in the comment section, in the side chat, or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Favorite Stuart Gordon film. And you can't say Reanimator, because that's mine. You can't have it.
Reanimator.
Oh, I see what you did there. Was that Stuart Gordon?
The favorite Stuart Gordon, I would actually have to say From Beyond. From Beyond was pretty badass. Plus, Barbara Crampton.
It's hard not to like Barbara.
It's hard not to. It's hard not. It's hard just not to be in love with that woman. I swear, it really is. All right. Well, I think it is about that time. I think it is trivia time. So, a lot of love for From Beyond in the live chat. Yeah, definitely. wrote in last name, Denova28, Aaron Reese. Hell fucking yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and don't forget, because Del Toro has his new Cabinet of Curiosities coming out, which promises to dive a little bit into Lovecraftian horror. So, hell yes, looking forward to that. But yes, it's trivia time, and this week we are giving away a Week in Horror official pint glass, because I fucking love that pint glass with the limited edition artwork, the limited edition #1 artwork on it from Joshua Olsen. So here we go. For a Week in Horror limited edition pint glass, get your Google fingers ready. How many of Stuart Gordon's films are adapted from the works of H.P. Lovecraft? So how many of Stuart Gordon's films are adapted from the works of H.P. Lovecraft? The first correct answer in the live chat gets a Week in Horror official pint glass. So first one.
His guesses are coming in. No, not 7, not 6.
Not 6.
All of them. Wrote in the last name. Very correct. Tony Regime.
Tony Regime.
Tony Regime.
There it is. We got the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
The correct answer, Tony Regime with 5.
And, dang, there was a whole bunch. 11,
we got a couple
3,
of them. Charlie
8,
Welch was right there, too.
42. Congratulations, Tony Regime. Yes, there were 5 adaptations that Stuart Gordon did. And specifically, just so people know, those movies were Reanimator, From Beyond, Castle Freak, Dagon, and Dreams in the Witch House, which some people may have forgotten about, but Dreams in the Witch House he adapted as well. So, yes, 5 Stuart Gordon Lovecraftian films. Congratulations, Tony Regime. We're going to get that pint glass printed and out to you ASAP. Way to go.
All right.
Unfortunately, not now, Sarcasm, because I just named him for you.
But nice try. All right. And that'll bring another episode of Week in Horror to a close. Thank you all so much for listening, and we truly hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week when we look back at the 60s revenge horror, Sting of Death, the genetic experimentation horror, It's Alive, the brutal mystery slasher, Casadega, and the underrated cult classic, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Fucking A.
Remember to cast your votes for host JL to be the first face of horror provided in the description.
And just a heads up on that one. The cutoff, or the cut to the top 5 will be tomorrow. So you can use the link that's down in the description below, or if you'd like, I can put it in the live chat again. But that cut, they're making that cut tomorrow. At 10 p.m. I'll be doing a stream when I'll be going live when we do it. But yeah, the cut to the top 5 will be tomorrow. So thank you all for all of the votes. I appreciate that.
All right, so definitely keep up with that. The link will be provided in the description. A massive shout out to all of our amazing patrons who continue to help us make Week in Horror the incredible success it has become. Thank you all so much. Joshua Olsen does all of our amazing artwork for the show, and his designs are incredible. Hit his store up at www.badsamurai.store. For more horror fun, be sure to follow us on all the socials for daily horror posts. And be sure to combat the evil algorithm by dropping a comment, liking, subscribing, and smashing the living fuck out of that bell. And lastly, if you love what we do here and you would like to and are able to support our production, you can by joining and enjoying the tasty benefits of one of our many Patreon tiers. But if Patreon is not your favorite method, you can always support us directly through our PayPal. Links to everything, including our Discord community, where you can hang out with us, are in the description below. And remember, the goal is global horror domination. And we cannot do it without you, our amazing audience. So pretty pleased with the severed, infested head of Clint Howard on top, go share the absolute fuck out of our little show. Thank you all for being the greatest audience a podcast could have. I'm Eugene.
Oh, it doesn't work when I'm second. Fine. I'm the second fat guy.
Can you never just sign off like an adult?
Sign off your mom like an adult.
I'm JL.
We'll see you next week. And as always, stay scared.
See ya.
Bye.
You suck so much.